Hello and welcome to Wrestling and Happy New Year. I'm on my own again this week. Well, the cats are with me, as you can see in the corner there. But we're going to run down the Raw episode from New Year's Eve, I believe it was. And this is the Raw replay. So subscribe because we are doing these videos twice a week at least. Obviously recapping Raw and SmackDown. And then we do our videos around pay-per-view. And I've got some ideas for some sort of bonus videos coming up as well. So there might be more content coming from the channel. Make sure to subscribe. Now we've got the admin out of the way, let's get on with the Raw replay. So we started this Raw episode with a steel cage match between Drew McIntyre and Dolph Ziggler. So something a little bit different and playing up to the whole new era thing. I think they said it had been a year since we'd seen a steel cage match on Raw. I can't remember what that was, but interesting way to start the episode. Ziggler goes for lots of early escape attempts, sort of scrambling up the side of the cage. And Drew obviously pulls him down off of the cage. There's a Glasgow kiss in there from Drew. And they're getting louder and louder every week. I know they sort of slap part of their body to make the sound, but Drew's making that sound louder and louder every time. Really effective. Dolph gets some of his signature moves in and some finishes in, but he can't get the 3 count. He goes for the door. I don't like the door in the steel cage matches. I don't know, I can't remember exactly when they put that in as a new part of a steel cage match, but I don't like it. I think it looks a little bit silly when they have to go and ask the ref to open the door and then they're like crawling to get out of the ring. I don't know, I don't like it. I wish I'd take it away. There's a superplex from Drew onto the, well, it's from the top of the cage. It looked awesome. Massive superplex. Maybe, what do they call it? Is it a megaplex when it's off there? It was crazy. Then he starts slinging Dolph into the cage, sort of left and right, throwing him back and forth. But then out of nowhere, Dolph hits a zigzag, and it's a very close call. He sets up for the super kick, but out of nowhere, the Claymore destroys Dolph. And Drew then sits and laughs at Dolph in the corner, and the commentary team are saying, "Why is he not pinning? Why is he not pinning?" And he sets up, he gets a second Claymore kick, and then he pins for the win. And then after the match, Dolph starts winding Drew up. He's sort of saying, you know, is that the best you can do? Is that all you've got, Drew? So Drew decides to go absolutely crazy. He gets a steel chair. He puts Dolph's head in between the chair and the steel cage, and then he drop kicks it, which looked quite violent. It was quite effective. You know, we don't always get, I know we do have sort of spots like this, but we don't always get it, so it was appreciated and it plays really well into the Drew character. Dolph kind of looked valiant in his sort of way of saying, is that all you've got? And he got back up after the 2 Claymore kicks, and he kept trying to wind Drew up. So I'm not sure if this is kind of like a face turn for Ziggler, or I don't know what they're doing with him, but his character's kind of in that middling ground again now. Then we get a limo rolling up and Shane and Triple H appear. Shane's doing his silly shite that he does where, you know, the twirl and everything, and he's running around Triple H. Triple H is like looking a little bit annoyed at him. We get a bunch of New Year's resolutions in the same vein as the Christmas promos from last week. And we get Rollins wants an IC rematch. Triple H comes out and he says it ain't happening because we're in the new era. They've explained countless times that rematches are a thing of the past, or, you know, the contractual rematch clause is a thing of the past. So Triple H kind of plays the same thing that Vince did with AJ, I thought here. He was trying to wind Seth up. He was trying to get him to be a bit more ruthless, and he was telling him that he wants him to burn it all down. So similar to what Vince was doing with AJ, I thought. Shane comes down as Seth is getting really amped up and looks like he's about to start going mental. He says there will be a fresh start battle royale, and it will determine the number 1 contender for the Intercontinental Championship. and he tells Seth that he will have a match later on, and he should go and get ready for that. Balor's the first out for the Fresh Start Battle Royale. He two sweets Triple H on the way down, which is a nice little touch. Everyone else gets a jobber entrance apart from Baron Corbin. And then we have the Battle Royale, and Apollo Crews from sort of nowhere gets 8 eliminations when I can speak. Unbelievable stuff. So that's like a really heavy push coming off the back of not really doing much for a while. Kurt Hawkins got to the final 3 as well, which was interesting to note. But yeah, Apollo Crews wins the Fresh Start Battle Royale, and he is going to face Dean Ambrose for the Intercontinental Championship. Charlie asks Apollo how he feels about facing Dean after the win. It's a very babyface answer. And then we get Natty backstage saying that she's in the Rumble, but Nia Jax and Tamina attack her from behind, and then they beat her down. Baron Corbin's in the ring. He's whinging on about losing the Battle Royale. He says it's not fair. Sounds like a little kid. His character's sort of gone a bit backwards again, I feel. I don't know what they're going to do with him since his GM role has been ended. Elias interrupts and he plays Auld Lang Syne. He sings a song about Corbin until he meets him on the ramp, and they have a big brawl all around the arena. Commentary list Detroit musicians, which was cool, and they were going through them, and they didn't mention my boy Jack White, but Renee did. She saved it. She sort of shouts, Jack White. I was so buzzing to hear Renee say that. She's so cool. She knows her stuff. And she mentioned Third Man Records as well, which has a store in Detroit. Oh, and then we got a 6-woman tag of Ember, Sasha Bailey versus the Riot Squad. Getting a bit fed up of the 6 women tag matches. First team win after Ember wipes out the Riot Squad. Backstabber and the big elbow. Standard stuff. Rollins versus Lashley is the next match, and it's what Shane obviously alluded to earlier. Seth is on top throughout most of the match, but Lio Rush keeps interrupting. Eventually, Seth loses the plot, and he takes a chair to the pair, stomps Rush, who sells it like a madman. It was such a bump that Lio Rush did off this curb stomp. So Seth loses via DQ. And like we said earlier, more of a ruthless Seth Rollins coming out here. Following this is Jinder and the Sings versus Heath and Rhino in a handicap tag match. I think this might be the first match that the Sings have ever competed in on the main roster. I don't recall them ever having their ring gear on before. They're usually just there to support Jinder. I could be wrong, but I don't recall ever seeing them with their ring gear on. Anyway, Jinder manages to win off the Colossus after the Sings distract everyone. They do what they're there to do. The Sings just basically take all the big moves, all the big bumps, get destroyed, and sell what everyone else is doing. That's really their role in WWE, and they do it well. Okay, the IC match followed, and it was Apollo versus Dean. So straight away, Apollo jumps Dean, goes after him. He dominates the early running, hits all his big moves. Dean can't get going, and this is something that they seem to be doing with Dean at the minute. He's on the back foot all match, and then he seems to manage to hit the dirty deeds and wins just via that finisher. That's exactly what happened here. He's just escaping with wins. We get Alexa Bliss backstage. She's debuting her talk show, A Moment of Bliss, next week on Raw. And Ronda Rousey will be the first guest on the show. Don't know what's happening with Alexa Bliss at the minute. I think she is looking like she's out for a long time. We expected her back, or hoped she would be back in the ring, but she's been not competing for a long time now. The main event is Ronda Rousey and Natty versus Nia and Tamina. Ronda and Natty attack as soon as they reach the ring. Ronda flips Tamina and Nia all over the place. Natty and Tamina hit a double crossbody. That looked really weird. It was like Tamina sort of was just standing. I don't know if they got it wrong. It didn't look right anyway. Natty did what you would expect from a double crossbody, but Tamina just stood there. It was odd. I absolutely love Ronda's sort of newish moves with that step-up knee strike and the step-up elbow strike. She locks in the armbar on Tamina. Natty does a leg drop to break it up. Tamina goes for the Superfly, but Ronda blocks, and then she hits the armbar again, and she wins. So, the New Year's edition of Raw, I thought was quite lacking. It didn't really have a lot going on. Everything was just so-so, and yeah, nothing really amazing happened. Nothing stand out. The cage match was good at the start. I thought Drew and Dolph came away looking pretty good from that. But apart from that, there wasn't a lot going on in this week's episode, especially for a 3-hour TV show. So for me, the Raw rating this week is going to be a 5 out of 10, distinctly average. And yeah, Raw's not doing great off the start of this new era. I'd be interested to know what you guys think about the new era, how you think it's going. I personally don't think that a lot's changed. There are little things that have changed for the better, but Raw's suffering from it, I think, whereas SmackDown has been a lot better. Anyway, that's all for this Raw replay. I hope you have enjoyed the video. Please do subscribe, and we will see you in the next video.